Welcome to this discussion about the current state of affairs in the world of work. I'm here with my co-trainer, Roy Schilling. Roy, how's it going?
It's going great, Phil. I think we've got an interesting opportunity here, an interesting venture.
Absolutely. So for those of our friends who have been Scrum Masters, product owners, QA people, project managers, BAs, I'm curious to know how many of you have seen your role changing, and Roy would like to know as well. Why don't you put in the comments or in the chat how you see your role evolving and why you think your role is evolving? Roy, you and I already know that the world of business is always rapidly pivoting.
Mhm.
And, like in those pirate movies, when the boat capsizes, some things are going to be thrown off, aka people.
Yeah.
So, in this world of AI, companies are pivoting quite dramatically as a
Mhm.
result of what AI can do. There's a lot of things that people used to do manually, what the QAs would do, and they would write tests and they would
Yep.
run tests. Now AI is running tests. Now AI is creating the Gantt charts that project managers used to create. The
Yep.
BAs, AI can do part of their job too, right, Roy? You want to expand on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the first step in this is to acknowledge the reality. And that reality is AI is here. It is going to do a lot of the things that we used to do ourselves. Any of those things that can be automated will eventually be automated. If you think about it from an organizational perspective, of course they want this, right? It's going to save the money. It's potentially reduce headcount. It's going to be good for them, right? Theoretically, it's going to be good for them. Now, the concern is, so what do we as the humans in this mess? What do we do about it, right? How do we stay valuable? How do we stay relevant when the world is shifting so fast? And we have to up our game. We have to make sure that we are always producing value. BAs, maybe not as much work. PMs, maybe not as work. Scrum Masters, project managers. There's a lot of different roles that are significantly impacted. You don't want to be viewed as overhead. You want to be
Mm.
viewed as somebody that's producing value, right?
Absolutely. And honestly, to provide value, one has to think differently.
Yes.
One has to think less of themselves as solo, but you need to also look at agentic possibilities of AI. And you
Mhm.
also need to look at flow of work. Because when you look at the
Yeah.
flow, Roy, in today's age, executing is no longer the excuse,
Hmm.
right? Because AI can execute at alarming speeds, but
Yeah.
there still seems to be a bottleneck somewhere in the flow, even if AI is brought into the mix. And what is that bottleneck, Roy?
Yeah, so absolutely right, Phil. So the challenge is execution used to be the bottleneck. That's where we spent most of our money, labor costs, things like that, and execution was expensive and but relatively slow. Well, now it's becoming less and less so, right? It's less expensive, less of the bottleneck. So now that bottleneck moves, theory of constraints. This comes from lean, right? Theory of constraints here. In my opinion, that has moved over to decision making. Decision latency. Imagine your team is going really, really fast, but if decisions are coming in slowly, then the
Mm.
team can only go as fast as those decisions are being made. Now, that opens up opportunity, right? So if you start shifting that focus to outside the team, now you're in a much better space, much more valuable, right, Phil?
That is absolutely correct. And Roy, the ability to remove impediments that
Huge.
are external to the team
Yeah.
requires a lot of skill, a lot of thought. It's a different skill set than many people are used to. But if you
Yeah.
take a look at the grand scheme of this entire situation, we find that it is important to be an agentic flow leader. It is important to understand how to lead the agentic side, which is what AI can do, and the ability to release those bottlenecks so that the flow of work through the organization is important. Now, for those who orchestrate decisions, clear organizational friction, and leading teams where AI does the executing is critical. And this is where we introduce the mindset of leadership in the face of adversity because the roles that you hold are being redefined. Scrum Masters are likely, we hate to break it to you, but going away. The Scrum Master role, Roy, do you want to talk about why that role will be morphing or just absolutely going somewhere else?
And I think this is a really important discussion. It's the Scrum Master role traditionally was about making the team as effective as possible, not
Mm.
just doing Scrum, but making them effective. Well, what if your team now is one or two people and a bunch of agents? What
Wow.
is that job now? Right? It completely changes. So there's still value in the people that have been doing this for so long because of the mindset that it brings along. The agile mindset is incredibly valuable, right? But the tasks that you used to do, it's no longer about running daily scrums. You got one person and an agent. Do you really need those kinds of things? So it really redefines how we do work. And again, I'm not saying that the concept or the mindset of these people isn't valuable. It's absolutely valuable. You went through a lot
Yes.
of training. You've been doing this work for a long time, but it's changed now. The world has
Mm.
changed. So those concepts, those things that we used to do, the value of those things are far less than they used to be. Now we have to move you to someplace else that's going to bring much more value, right, Phil?
Absolutely. Not to mention the role of the product owner and the business analyst.
Yeah.
See, when a business analyst is already embedded, the lines between the product owner and the PM dissolve.
Yep.
So build versus not decisions, customer sentiment, and product strategy alignment become the differentiator. What else, Roy?
Yeah, so you think about it, product owners are supposed to be focusing on, building the right stuff, and maximizing value. Well, now with AI doing a lot of the work in the execution, AI can also help with refining requirements, taking epics and breaking them down and, building great acceptance criteria. As long as you're providing the right information to it, the right context of your product, AI can help do a lot of that work. And let's face the reality, product owners often became very focused on managing backlog items. They were backlog managers is what they became. And there's not a lot of value in that, right?
True.
The real value is working with product strategy. Where are we going? Working closely with your stakeholders, the human side of
Mhm.
doing, defining what that product should be, the product vision. That's really valuable. So we're going to want to get people out of that, doing backlog management, the Jira janitors kind of job, right? We want to move them to owning the vision and the strategy. And let's just face reality, the overlap between product owner and BA and PM is significant.
Mm.
Always has been, right? But as there was all of that work to do manually, it wasn't as much of a problem. Well, now it is, right?
Yeah.
Because AI is taking over a lot of those activities. The work to do this stuff is reducing. We got to shift you to something more valuable, right?
That is really true, Roy. And I just find it comedic, the Jira janitors and the backlog managers. And while it was a role that was critical for those things,
Yeah.
that's going away. You bring up so many good points about how AI is able to do so much. And moving over to QA and test writers, it is no different. Manual test case authorship, that's gone. I remember working in IT effectiveness at Honeywell, and looking back at what I was doing as a program manager, I was writing test scripts, I was writing use
Yeah.
cases. The sobering truth is, guess what? AI can write the test case, it can write the test script, it can write the use case, and it can run the test, Roy, all
Like
while building. Like, you would
in
say
seconds.
you got to build and then you test. It can do both almost simultaneously, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. AI can take over a lot of those manual activities that we used to have to do ourselves. But there's still value again in that mindset and what the QA mindset brings in the behaviors. Huge, huge value in that. And what I would suggest is that, something that we want to shift in this space, the QA test writer kind of space, start thinking more about the context, right? The context of how to do it, what we should be testing, all of that kind of good stuff. That's really where your value now fits. Context management, flow management, not writing the test cases. AI can do a lot of that work for you. Maybe not everything, but it's getting close.
Absolutely. And let's talk about how the landscape has shifted, Roy, because you always bring this up. And you talk about how once upon a time data was like, the bad word. Like we're not looking for bunch of data. But now data is the lifeblood that feeds the beast, isn't it? Want
Yeah,
to talk about that?
absolutely. Data, the right artifacts, the concepts, the theories. This is that concept of context engineering. This is really
Mm.
where we're shifting more away from doing and more about informing how to do. Right? That context space is really where humans are going to be most valuable. Let's face the reality, AI doesn't have experience. It has lots of knowledge and
True.
pattern recognition. It's really, really fast at that, but it doesn't have the experience. Right? So
Mm.
that's where humans can bring value. Let's shift you all to experience related space, and then you're bringing value again, right?
Absolutely, Roy. And that introduces our philosophy to our friends on the call, Flow Orchestrator. This is a new leadership archetype. It's not a task manager,
No.
it's not a ceremony host, it's not someone who just stands on ceremony to do the red tape stuff. No, this is a decision accelerator. This is someone who maps where work stalls across the firm and removes the friction that slows augmented teams. Now it's not just a bunch of 10 people in the world of agile or 100 people in the world of predictive without augmentation. This is an augmented team that is moving at supersonic speed. And the word that we often use in this world that Roy and I train in is AI will be the hyper iterative linchpin. It helps you hyper iterate. So when you are hyper iterating, you want to ensure that the humans are spending energy where machines cannot go yet. Machines cannot cut the red tape. They cannot accelerate the decisions, but a human can. But it's not just any human, it's a human that has the right mindset. And that's where the idea of being an orchestrator of flow, an agentic flow leader comes in. So think about it as three pillars and one leader. We're thinking about agentic leadership, leading environments where AI agents are team members. It's now reality. It's no longer science fiction. Understanding what changes when non humans carry execution and knowing when to intervene, when to delegate, and how to govern AI assisted workflows without adding drag. Roy, what are some of the thoughts we should be thinking of when it comes to leading this hybrid collaboration?
Yeah. So again, like you said a few times, Phil, which is spot on. We need to focus with where AI can't go. We need to focus on the human aspect. You know, managing agents inside of a team, yeah, you're going to have some orchestration to do. You've got team members that are handling that stuff. So you don't necessarily need to focus on that. What you need to focus on is getting the right information into the teams. You have to focus on decision latency. You focus on flow across the organization, going in, unfortunately, hunting down those decisions sometimes, right? Focusing on the human side of it, the human experience side of it, that AI is just not going to be able to do that for us, not for a long time anyway. So again,
Absolutely.
shifting outside the team, right? That's where you need to be making sure that you understand. And think about it this way. If the teams are moving really, really fast, right? That's fantastic. But if we're not getting the right information into that team at the right time, they can go as fast as they want to, but they're going to be starved for quality requirements and quality decisions. So you got to make sure that those decisions and that information is coming into those teams as fast as possible. They're just going to be building a lot of bad stuff really, really fast, right?
Honestly, Roy, and on LinkedIn a few weeks back, there was this whole controversy because, Alistair Coburn, who's one of the Agile signatories, he posted something regarding theory of constraints.
Yeah.
And someone was saying, oh, well, the theory of constraints has gone away. No, the constraint
Oh,
just moved.
it's just moved. It's proven itself once again, right? The constraint that used to be building things has shifted. Now but we want to look at it at the organization as a system. And that's why flow is so important in
Mm,
this. Flow leader is so important in this because you have to look at your organization as a system. It has a flow of work that goes. We've got one spot, that piece in the middle used to be the slowest point in the entire system. Well, guess what? It's now moved. That's no
yep.
longer the slowest point anymore. Think about how long does it take to get a project started? How long does it take to get a decision to start something? How long does it take to decide what we should be working on? That's the
Yeah.
new constraint. It's always been there,
It's always
right? But
been there.
now, exactly, it's always been there, but now it's exposed itself,
More
right?
evident.
AI
Yeah.
has done its job and amplified the real problem.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because now execution is supersonic.
Yep.
People can design and build apps in seconds. So
Yep.
flow is the new discipline. It's the new normal. And customer signal replaces assumption.
Mhm.
Build versus not decisions happen in real time. And
Yeah.
these leaders don't manage backlogs. They manage the conditions for great decisions.
That's the key statement right there.
Absolutely, Roy. And lastly, let's talk about a role that has been for the Scrum Master for a long time. But let's talk about the difficulty in this because now it is an amplified impediment. So, the hardest leadership work navigating what the team cannot. Talk about this a little bit, Roy.
Yeah, so this is honestly to me, this has always been important, but a lot of Scrum Masters have been so focused on what happens inside the teams because there
Mhm.
were so many problems inside their teams, right? So a team member would have a problem, and a Scrum Master would naturally take that on as the lead to help remove that impediment. But a lot of things could happen inside the team, right? Well, now that stuff is you don't have as many impediments inside the team. They can move pretty fast. They can make decisions pretty fast internally. What
Mm,
happens though is it's the stuff outside the team that becomes the real problem. What if we
mm,
need a decision from a leader and we can't get it? The team is stuck, right? So all that speed we gain from augmenting them is now
mm.
just stopped. It has now become useless, right? So now the team, the scrum masters, those folks that are doing that job need to focus outside the team, shareholder or stakeholders rather. Working with leadership, collecting data. This is a big one. Collecting data for the teams, building context. Remember, I said
Mm,
earlier about building the context, the context engineering aspect. If they can be, like orchestrators of context, and making
mm.
sure that the teams have all the right information like at their fingertips, AI is going to work better. The team's going to work better. Removing impediments that are happening outside the team. That's the key now.
Absolutely critical. And as we traverse this trajectory, we're going to be teaching everyone who comes on the cohort with us. We're going to be showing you in residency style how to think about pillars and levers that accelerate your ability to get those decisions released. We're going to be talking about relationship mindsets that you might have in order to do this. We're going to be talking about who do you need to equip in making the decisions. Roy just talked about data. Sometimes you just need to equip leadership with the right data,
Yeah.
and then they'll be able to fly. We're going to talk about attitudes, having a positive mental attitude in this agentic world, in this flow world. This is what will sustain your efforts. And lastly, we're going to talk about the big L, leadership.
Mhm.
Leadership, everything rises and falls on leadership, even in an AI driven agentic world. Because where there is no vision and no leader, things go awry. But where there is great vision, great positive mental attitude, in the words of Zig Ziglar, it is your attitude that determines your altitude, not your aptitude. You see, AI gives us all the aptitude, but we got to have that positive mental attitude. And that's just a piece of what we're going to be showing our friends when they come on this journey with us. Augmented developers move at machine speed. When decisions stall, you're not just losing time, you're losing the entire value of your investment in AI assisted execution. The new leader's job is to ensure decisions never become a bottleneck. And that is our mindset. So going through our module, for those of you who want to come on the program with us, and you'll find a link below for you if you want to sign up. This is going to be happening in August timeframe, July, August timeframe. Look for the details below. The modules are as follows. Number one, the new reality. We're going to be examining what changed. We're going to be going through it role by role, project manager, product owner, BA, Scrum Master. We're going to unravel where these roles are consolidated and what is happening. Secondly, we're going to talk about agentic leadership, managing what isn't human and how to do it. You're working with a team that has had experience in the manual analog ways of doing things. Like Roy has been in that world with banks and corporations.
Yep.
I have been in that world with many entities in oil and gas and defense and space. So we're going to be bringing that reality to you. And we are both extremely active in the world of artificial intelligence, developing systems and applications. So you're in the right company. Then we're going to talk about agile leadership reimagined. We're going to talk about flow over ceremony. Roy, just give us a teaser about flow over ceremony. Why is this important?
Yeah, so this is a challenge that we've quite honestly had in the agile space. Is it started out where we were thinking that, the work that we do and how we do it is about collaboration, open discussions, things like that, and it unfortunately turned into a little more ritual. It became about the ceremonies, and not that they're not valuable. The daily scrums, things like that. These are all valuable events, but it became more about the ritual of agile than being agile. And we need to move away from that, right? We've got to go back to those first principles of the agile world. And it's about collaboration and, working with the people that are asking for things, much more about that human connection, because we don't need the ceremonies as much as we used to. We don't need as much ritual as we had before, simply because AI, right? It's changed the world. So now we want to focus more on how is work flowing end to end from idea, concept to cash, right? Remember that phrase that's been around for a long time, right? You've got an idea and getting it out to the other end with no stops or as few stops in the middle. All right, those constraints that are stopping us from getting things done fast, that's what this is all about. Eliminating them, observing from a just a slight distance, looking kind of flowing over, the flow of work, just sitting above it and watching how work flows across the process, right?
Mm, great stuff, Roy. We're going to be looking at decision quality at speed. Why decision quality, not delivery speed, is now the new normal. We're going to be examining decision debt. We talk about technical debt in the world of Agile. Well, decision debt is what happens when leaders delay or avoid making decisions. And you're going to be a beacon for this. By the time we are done going through the multiple scenarios and situations in this new agentic world, you are going to be able to make a case for why decision debt is not something to look forward to. Roy, you want to talk about decision debt? And
Yeah, this is the key. This is everything right here. If we are not focusing on producing quality decisions as fast as the process can flow, then, and I think you had it, earlier in one of the slides here, what's going to happen is the investment in AI is going to be bad, right? We're
mm,
not going to get the return on investment because if we are not able to keep up with AI, if we are not able to keep up with the execution speed, then we're not going to get the return that we expect. Everything is going to still run the same speed as humans do, rather than the speed of the machine, rather the speed of AI. Not just making decisions, but making quality decisions at speed is going to be the new most important thing that we do as an organization.
absolutely, Roy. Number five, flow orchestration, clearing the path across the firm. The flow orchestrator understands the importance of impediment removal.
Not just inside the team, but now we're talking about the whole organization. How do we orchestrate the flow across the organization, removing those impediments fast so the whole organization flows? And AI just becomes a component that helps us speed up certain aspects of it. Right, Phil?
And there's certain mindsets, Roy, that enable this. So, as opposed to teaching big old frameworks and methods, which a lot of other programs do, what exactly are we going to do to unleash the good powers that we're looking people to show, Roy?
Yeah, this is not about frameworks. It's not about methodologies. This is about different ways of thinking about things. And let me be clear. Some of these concepts like flow and theory of constraints and things like that, they've been around for a while. We want to show you how to use them to your advantage. Right? What are
Mm,
they for? How do you think bigger picture and not just, the individual team or individual team member? Think beyond that. Right? What we were trying to teach you in these sessions is not just how to survive these changes, but how to lead in this space, how to be that person that is leading this change. Right? That's how you bring value to your organizations, right, Phil?
absolutely, Roy. All right, your evolution roadmap, the leader you're becoming. We're going to touch on this. We're going to connect all three pillars to a coherent leadership identity. We're going to be talking about the Scrum Master. What part of them stays? What part of the QA world stays? What part of the product
Yeah.
owner world stays? And it's going to converge, Roy, isn't it? It's converging into this agentic flow leader because you have all the firepower, you have all the compute
Mhm.
at your disposal. But that's not what matters anymore. What matters is the ability to leverage that compute, and it comes from making the right decisions so that this hybrid team is able to move, right, Roy?
Exactly. And if you think about it, Phil, some of the lines of these roles have been blurry for a very long time.
That's
And
true.
many organizations have consolidated roles in the past, right? That's not an uncommon thing. How many Scrum Masters are also project managers,
That's
right?
true.
It's everywhere, right? So this is not that part is not necessarily a new concept, but it's accelerated, right? AI has made it that the execution space is a lot faster. There are fewer impediments that happen inside the team. It's just easier to get work done when you're augmented, using agentic AI and other techniques, right? So it's a lot easier now. So
That,
now we've got people that were focused on doing those activities that used to be human. Those
mm,
activities are going away, right? Or at least not as much, not needed as much anymore. So now with these roles, they're no longer just blurring, they're consolidating, right? Think about the overlap between BA and product owner, the overlap
mm,
between product owner and product manager. That overlap has always existed, but now it's important, right?
yeah.
Now organizations are looking at it saying, why do I need both? Right?
Why
Can
do
you
I
blame
need
them?
Phil? Why do I need three Phils?
Yeah, exactly. I can have, one fill and, a few agents running, and I can generally get the same kind of concept or the same output out of them, maybe even more,
Buy
right?
one, get one free. Buy one Phil, get the other two. And
Two fills for the price of one, right?
for the price. And it sounds like funny, but that is people's reality. Organizations are getting rid of entire roles because
Yep.
of the new normal. So we need to
Yep.
wake up and smell that coffee. Yeah.
Exactly.
And in order to position you for what is coming, some of you in your organizations, they haven't hit yet, but they're coming, aren't they, Roy? We know they're coming.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And we don't know what it's going to look like, in 2 years. AI is evolving so fast. What
Fast.
we have to do, though, is get ahead of it, right?
Exactly.
So we're prepared for
Exactly.
it.
So in this agentic flow leader cohort, you are going to be spending 16 hours across a couple of months with us. And the idea is that every step of the way, we are equipping you with abilities and mindedness. You're going to look introspectively and find the gold that is buried deep within as a Scrum Master, as a product owner, as a QA person, as a BA. All those roles have gold nuggets, which you can take and build on that and position yourself for what is coming because it is coming. And you want to be well positioned in terms of leadership, in terms of cognition of what is out there in the world of AI, and in your understanding of flow, which Roy is a master of, which he has been teaching for a very long time. And Roy, when we talk about flow, let's use the metaphor of the metrics that we often look at in flow. What are some of those metrics?
Yeah, there are three primary metrics that we're going to teach you about and how you can use them to analyze and improve flow. One of the most important one is WIP, work in progress, right? If you've got too much work going on all at the same time, guess what happens? Your output goes down, right? You slow down, quality issues happen, you're overloaded, right? So that's a primary one. Another metric we're going to talk about is cycle and or lead time. They're both important, right? But they're very closely related to each other. And that's how much time it takes to do work. WIP is how much work you're doing simultaneously. Cycle/lead time is how long it takes to get it done. And then finally, we're going to talk about throughput. And that's how much stuff you can get done within a certain amount of time, right? So those three metrics together are some of the primary metrics we're going to show you how to use to your advantage to help you improve the flow. You want to monitor the flow, improve the flow. Those three metrics are going to get you really close to building a great process flow, right?
Great stuff, Roy. And as you know, we can see here just the mindedness of where each role is heading. By the time we're done, you will understand these metrics Roy has just broken down. You will understand how what you already have can give you further leverage to become the agentic flow leader. It's not going to be passive learning, it's going to be active learning. Every session will have hands on exercises. As part of this curriculum, for those of you who have been on the ledge, not going into the dark side of vibe coding, you will also be learning as part of this curriculum how to build a product of your own dreams and imagination. Everyone in this cohort will be building a product leveraging agentic workflows that we're going to be teaching. You're going to have the opportunity of eating your own, Roy, what should we call it? I don't want to call it eating your own frog.
Yeah, sure. Eat your own frog. I like to drink your own champagne, all that kind of good
Okay,
stuff.
that's a good
That's
one.
that's one of my favorites. Yeah.
That's a good one. We won't use the other alternatives, which might be a bit off-putting.
Yep.
But you will be drinking your own champagne. You will be learning how to vibe code. And by the time we're done, we would have taken you through the concept of flow to help you get to an end goal, a desired outcome, where you have gone through the process of flow management, flow leadership to get to your own product or service. So, for those of you that have been on the ledge wanting to learn how to vibe code, that will also be part of the curriculum. And you'll be taking these skills away so that you can hit the ground running in a firm tomorrow and help them craft their apps and their ideas. And at the same time, get rid of those bottlenecks through effective decision management. The cohort will be made of individuals just like you who share like minds and common situations. We're going to look at cross-role cohorts, Scrum Masters, product owners, QA leads. Everyone is going to be present there and it's going to be learning from each other. We're going to be honest about what's ending. We're going to share knowledge and information. Our students in our cohorts always come with a hunger to learn more. So it's going to be a group of people who are looking to accelerate and elevate. It's going to be a decision-centric frame. Every module is filtered through one question. Does this make decisions faster or better? Does it give you the ability to engineer decisions faster? And flow is the metric. So my friends, if you are keen on joining this curriculum, joining this cohort, I encourage you to click the link below. So the 8 weeks will start on the 1st of August and it will end on the 19th of September. Within that time frame, you're going to be spending 16 hours with the best of the best in industry. No one else is talking about this. No one else is telling the truth about how the roles are going away. Instead, more training is being offered for these roles.
Mhm.
But we know that the roles are consolidating. This is very serious. Give it some thought. Go to the link below. And Roy and I look forward to seeing you in the curriculum. Roy, any closing thoughts?
Like I said, we want to help you lead in this space so that you're not just surviving, you're the person that's showing others how to do it.
Absolutely. Don't just survive.